Hi everyone, this is John from Civil Center. Welcome to our channel. As we know, Civil Center is continuously working with the vision to guide civil engineering students and professionals. And for that, we keep making videos on different software and on different topics related to civil engineering field. So, in the last video, we have discussed about the foundation. We have discussed what is foundations, what is its type, and what is the purpose of foundation. So in the types, we have broadly divided the foundation in two types. First one was shallow foundation and the another one was deep foundation. Today we are going to start with shallow foundation and we will understand in detail what is shallow foundation. So you can see this is an image where we have casted the shallow foundation. So these types of foundations are used in the places where the soil hard stratum are found at a shallow depth from the ground surface. What does this mean? This means here in this side the soil hard stratum is found at a shallow depth, and what should be that depth? That depth should be lesser than 2 to 3 meters. That means the soil hard stratum is found at a depth of 2 to 3 meters. If this one is exceeding, that is the depth of 3 meters is exceeding, then that will be categorized at the deep foundation, and today we are going to stick with the shallow foundation. What are the other conditions? The second condition that must be taken care is that these types of foundations will be constructed where the soil bearing capacity, or you can say the safe bearing capacity of the soil, is considerably high. Okay, the depth of the foundation is less as compared to the breadth, so it is also known as a spread foundation. Now let's go and understand what are the advantages of shallow foundation. So the first advantage of this foundation is that it is the simplest form of the first advantage of the foundation is it is the simplest form of foundation which is used to uniformly transfer the load from the superstructure to the subsoil below it. That means it is going to simply transfer the load of the superstructure. What is superstructure? The categories of the building can be of two types. One is substructure, in which we keep the footings, and the second one is superstructure, that is visible above the ground. Okay, so the foundation will take the load of the whole superstructure and it will uniformly distribute it to the soil. Now let's come to the second advantage of the shallow foundation. Since the water table exists at a considerable depth, so there are very little chances of the foundation to encounter the water table, thus saving the close of application of different waterproofing techniques to the foundations. So while casting the foundation, or you can say while constructing the foundation, we have to use different waterproofing techniques so that the water is not affecting the strength of the foundation. Here the water table is considerably low, so we don't need to use any kind of waterproofing technique. The waterproofing techniques is not being used constructed at a shallow depth, so it also saves the time and cost of the project. Now let's understand what are the types of shallow foundations. So broadly, these foundations are categorized in four types. First one is isolated footing, second one is combined footing, third one is our cantilever footing, and the fourth one is our raft or mat footing. So let's understand what is isolated footing. So over here you can see an image of isolated footing. This type of shallow foundation, a stepped footing is provided below each column of the structure. You can see for each column we have a single footing, and these footings are stepped. So basically these footings are stepped in three different layers, and each layer of the footing is constructed at a difference of 50 to 75 mm. That means this is our first step and this is our second step. So this step will have a width more than 50 to 75 mm of the first step. Okay, this is the most common type of footing which is being used in the low cost building where the soil condition is very good. So that was all about isolated footing. Now let's move to the combined footing over here. So you can see a combined footing is that in which single footing is common in two columns. So over here you can see that it is a combined footing, and instead of two, this figure is representing a combined footing with three columns. Now why is this combined like this? So these are used in the conditions where the cleared span between two columns are very low, which results in overlapping of the stepped cores if isolated column footing are provided. That means here the distance between the two columns is very low, so we can't go for the isolated footing over here, because if we will go for that, then the steps of the isolated footing will overlap with each other. So in that case we will go for the combined footing. And these combined footings can be categorized in two types. First one will be rectangular footing, used when the loads on the two columns are same, and the second one is trapezoidal footing, which can be used when the columns carry the unequal load. So you can see over here, these columns are carrying the equal loads. That's why we are casting the rectangular footing over here. But suppose this column would have taken a larger load than this one, then in that case we will go for the trapezoidal type of footing. So that was all for the combined footing. Now let's move to the cantilever footing. So you can see an image over here which is showing the cantilever footing. And in simple words, the cantilever footing is combined footing connected by a tie beam which is of lower width and greater depth. That means the width of the tie beams will be lower, but the depth of these types of footing will be higher. This type of footing is necessary for conditions where there is a This type of footing is necessary for the conditions where there is a strict restriction of a space and it is not possible to project the footing further in its column face. So you can see over here is a restriction that we can't have the space. Okay, so due to the lack of the space, we are going for this type of footing. Otherwise we would have constructed a combined footing like this. So over here we do have the space for the combined footing, but since in the other side you can see the space is not available, that's why we are connecting these two footings with a tie beam, and that's why it is known as cantilever footing. And this tie beam helps in stabilizing the columns, thus making a uniform distribution of loads beneath the footing. Now let's move to the fourth and the last type of shallow foundation, that is the raft or mat footing. So you can see here we have an image of raft footing. In places where the soil is of inferior quality and the safe bearing capacity of soil is lower compared to the ordinary soil, a common footing is provided beneath each column. So you can see this is our column and this is the space where footing is going to be casted. But you can see we do have the reinforcement all over the area. So if the soil bearing capacity of any particular site is low, then we will provide a common footing to the whole area for all the columns that are there in the project. Next point is, this type of footing is known as raft footing. Raft footing is used in place where the distance between each column is very less, thus making it unsuitable for isolated footing. So if the distance between the two columns is less, then we can't go for the isolated footing as the steps are going to overlap over here. So we will go for this type of footing, that is the raft footing. And where the columns of the raft footing are connected by a tie beam, it is known as mat foundation. That means if we will provide a footing like this, then that will be a raft footing. But if these columns will also have a tie beam beneath it, then we will go for the mat foundation. So guys, that was all for today. If you want more such informative videos, then you can visit our YouTube channel, as well as you can also visit our Facebook page, where you will find a number of YouTube videos and the informative posts related to our live online classes. So if you want to register for our live online classes, then you can simply go to the link given in the description. All you have to do is to click on that link and it will open up a Google form for you. You have to just fill your details over here and I will personally give you a call and I will guide you how to proceed to join our live classes. See you in the next video. Thank you.